Happy Wednesday morning to you, Crosspoint Alliance Church. Good to be with you via video. Trust that you're well, resting in Jesus and aligning your paths with His and hearing from Him in real time. That's a joy and delight, whether during the day, at night, in the morning. Trust that you're hearing from Him. The clarity that we get from Him gives us confidence in the here and now. So last week we began a short recap of some of the peacemaking training that we received here at Crosspoint. We had a number of district people come here on April the 1st. So the way they broke down the training was they went over 4 G's to help move us through different stages of conflict and get us to a place of peace with ourselves, God, and one another. The first G was to glorify God. We talked about that a little bit last week, but that has to do with when we enter into conflict, okay, blood pressure goes up, face gets red, maybe a little bit of emotion starts to flare up. The first G is basically about asking God, what are you trying to do in me in this conflict? Okay, because the focus is automatically on, if we can be frank with one another, well, usually on controlling the other person's behavior to eliminate the problem. And so the first G is to glorify God, namely, God, what do you have for me in this conflict? So the second G is get the log out of your own eye. Get the log out of your own eye. I want to read to you from Matthew chapter 7. So Jesus says, Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 3, why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when there is a log in your own eye, you hypocrite? First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. It is so like Jesus, to cut to the chase, to get right at it. So the second G in conflict is get the log out of your own eye. So just a couple of thoughts on this. This is, again, a redirection from the conflict. We focused on God, and we're still focusing on God, but it's a redirection to oneself now. Like, what is the log in my own eye? And so we're now looking at ourselves, not at others. So a couple of thoughts here. So number one, in getting the log out of your own eye, you may want to discern, what is my log? So I'm seeing something in someone else while there's a gigantic log in my own eye. I'm seeing a speck in someone else's eye, a splinter. What is the log? Well, I would say the log is not necessarily, it doesn't mean that you have the same problem the other person has. Not necessarily, maybe, but I would think that the log is your issue in the conflict. That is your log. That is your problem. So what is that log? What is my role in this conflict? Might well be that the other person has already told you. Okay? Now, maybe that person's not focusing on the log and getting the log out of their own eye, and so you're working hard to help them know what that log actually is in their lives. But that person may have told you already, or you can get alone with God and you can ask Him, look, Jesus, you said get the log out of your own eye before you talk to others. So you got to figure out what that log is. And once you figure out what that log is, you're going to have to get it out. But until we figure out what that log is and we're focusing on others, there's just a couple of things that are happening. So the continued focus on others is actually distracting us from dealing with our own stuff. It's a pleasant distraction sometimes. It's a self-righteous distraction. We can get ourselves worked up into a holy war, trying to go after the other person, and so it seems like we're doing God's business. But actually, that can be a distraction. I guess the other thing I would point out here is that elevating the other person's issue above our own it's a blinding act. It blinds us when we're so focused on the other person. So Jesus' solution is get the log out of your own eye, and then you can see clearly. So until the log or your issue is dealt with, until my issue is dealt with, we're not going to see clear. Can't see clear. And here's I would say, a decent litmus test as to whether you're seeing clearly. Are you still mad? Are you still frustrated? Are you still grinding? That may well be an indication that you are not yet seeing clearly. Because when you see clearly, to get the log out of your own eye, after you get the log out of your own eye, you can see clearly. Now you're actually in a place of peace where you see clearly. So, like I said, litmus test might be what's the level of your own emotion. I think the level of our angst may indicate whether or not we have gotten the log out of our own eye. So that's the second G. Very biblical, isn't it? Get the log out of my own eye. I got to discern what that log is. And once I discern it, I get it out. Now I'm in a spot of peace. Now I'm in a place of peace. I can see and I can talk. So that's the second G in conflict resolution. We'll go over 2 more G's in subsequent weeks. So just I want to ping back. I don't have anything new to offer right now in regards to our family fun nights. I do want to dial in on the parking lot conversation, which has been quite exciting to see unfold. So 2 Sundays ago, Rob Davis spoke to this, and then I spoke to you last Sunday, and I said, look, 10,000, I think 225 has come in since that initial talk. And then this past Sunday, more came in, another, I think 5-something grand. So we are now short 4,500. Yay! Good job, Crosspoint. And let me encourage everyone, if you're waiting, this is a good time to jump in. We don't want to deprive ourselves of the blessing of giving. So be a part of the parking lot solution, whether it's 10 cents or a lot more. Give as you are able to so that you can own part of the joy. I want to encourage us. I'm looking forward to seeing us move across the finish line. I'm confident that we will. And my hope is that each one of you will be able to be part of that joyful celebration. So it'd be great. I'm really looking forward to seeing a nice new parking lot because we kind of need it. So anyway, that's all for today, Crosspoint. So I'm going to bless you, okay? The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. Love you, Crosspoint. We'll see you soon. Bye.